everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jenny. I'm here today to share with you my March reading plans. And yeah, here we go. So I have some carryovers from February that are coming into March with me. This seems to be pretty standard now for me. There's just always some hiccups in my reading month, and so I end up not having enough space or time to get all the things read. And I think the other thing that's happening this year because of my Fresh Reads project is that I'm kind of allowing more space for spontaneity and for flux in my monthly reading. And so that means that as I'm going through the month, I might end up reading something else before I finish something else. So that's kind of shifting my TBR around, which is fine. I'm actually not minding that. It's actually a little refreshing, and also it's just letting me be very spontaneous with my reading in a way that I haven't been in many years. And so I'm enjoying that feeling, and I'm keeping it going. So what's carrying over with me is actually quite a bit of this TBR, to be honest. But I'm going to talk you through them because they're not all things that I've talked about before. Okay, so one that I have talked about before is Dionne Brand's A Map to the Door of No Return. I am almost halfway in this one, so I'm hoping that in March I will be finishing it off. But it's actually getting really good, and there's I've marked some pages now because there's some notes that I want to take out of here, and I'm reading this one for research purposes. So often when I'm reading things for research purposes, I don't read it the same way as I do another nonfiction or fiction that I'm just trying to read in my regular monthly TBR. So it's normal for books to kind of carry through over several months as I'm getting to them. And I will have to take notes from this when I'm done as well. And so this is exactly what it says, Notes to Belonging. So Dionne Brand is exploring the idea of belonging in this book, and she really is doing it in a very interesting way. Kind of like vignettes of thought that are just kind of weaved together throughout the text. And you can have, some really little short passages and then some longer ones. And it is very readable in that way because you can pick it up and put it down, and you don't feel like you're losing anything from the narrative by taking a break from reading it. So it is very good. I will finish this by the end of March, and if I don't, I'm not going to chat about it again in my April TBR. Okay, so another book that I meant to read in February and didn't get to is Art for the Ladylike, an autobiography through other lives by Whitney Otto. I'm still very excited to read this. Just didn't get to it because of the other books that are on my TBR. So I will be getting to this in March at some point. Okay, so my Fresh Reads project for February was one that took some time to procure the books for. And so I ended up getting two. So my Fresh Reads project in February was to read at least one book from the Women's Prize for Nonfiction long list. And so I ended up picking up two from the library. So By the Fire We Carry by Rebecca Nagle is the one that I'm currently reading. This is about the generations-long fight for justice on Native land. This is specifically around the Cherokee, Muskogee, Chickasaw, and Seminole area, so the southern United States. And it's about a specific case that happened in Oklahoma, which was groundbreaking for Native Americans. And so I'm actually making a reading vlog about this. So I'm pretty sure that reading vlog will be coming out sometime in March. And you can hear my thoughts all about this one in that reading vlog. And then the other book that I ended up getting is the Neneh Cherry memoir, A Thousand Threads. And so this one I am going to get to, as quickly as I can, most likely as soon as I'm done By the Fire We Carry. I will start in on this one, and I probably will make a reading vlog about this one as well. And so you can look forward to that if you don't watch my reading vlogs, I will definitely be wrapping up the books, both the books, in my monthly wrap-ups as well when I'm done to finish them. But in case you're looking for something more in depth about the books, I think when I do reading vlogs, I tend to go into more details about the book than I talk about usually in my wrap-ups. So that'll be where you can look for that if you're interested in this one. I think that the short list is going to be announced sometime in March, so it's interesting to be reading these and to see if they make the short list or not, and then, you know, I can kind of reflect on all that in the reading vlogs. And then the other carryover is The Creative Act by Rubin. This is my Patreon book club read, and we are finishing up this book in March, so we'll be reading the last section. If you have read this, if you are interested in chatting to some people about this, you can send me an email through my contact, or you can leave a comment and let me know that you're interested, and we can work out a way for you to join in on our live chat. The live chat for the second part of this book was really fun, and even if you're not a member of my Patreon, but you might be curious about joining in to my book club discussions, I'd be happy to give you the link, the Google Meet link, so that you can come and join in if you'd like to try it out and see what my book club is all about, and see if you'd like to join in future for future reads. We haven't chosen our second quarter read yet, but there will be voting for that on my Patreon. All the Patreon details are in the description box below if you're interested in checking it out. Okay, so a book that I have not talked about and I've already started reading is The Bones of Grace by Tahmima Anam. So Tahmima Anam is a Bangladesh born author. She now lives in England. This is the third and final book in her Bangladesh series. I loved both the first two books in this series. I purchased them, and I purchased this one. And this one takes place quite a bit in the future from the other books. And I still am not exactly sure, I'm not quite halfway, how our main character, who is Zubaida, how she connects to the characters in the first two books. Not quite sure. Waiting for that all to be revealed. It's unfolding slowly. It's also about Zubaida is a paleontologist, and she is looking for a very specific whale bones. And it's also about a great love of her life. And so this opportunity to go and find this very specific whale and go on a dig for it, and her meeting of this man who's super influential in her life happens around the same time. And so she's telling the story to him of all the things that happened when they weren't together. And it's a really, I find the narrative to be very compelling. It really pulls you in, and you enjoy the narrative voice because it's this very intimate feeling of being on the inside of a relationship, kind of, as she's telling the story. So really enjoying this, as I enjoyed the first two books in the series, which were The Golden Age and The Good Muslim. I would really recommend Tahmima Anam's writing. I'm very excited to have read this one so that I can get to her new book. She did publish something, I think maybe in 2023, and I haven't read it yet because I wanted to read this one before I read her next book. So very much looking forward to that. Okay, so the only other book that I need to talk to you about is my audiobook for this month, and I have already started that as well. It is called Memory Peace by Lisa Coe. This is actually a fresh read, I think. I believe it's not that old. I think it may have come out in 2024 or 2023. So I am just going in on the fresh reads, full in. So this is a really interesting audiobook. It is about, our main character's name is Giselle, and she is Asian American. And she pretty much from her very early on in her life, wants to be an artist. And not just, a painter or a sculptor or something that's, very typical of wanting to be an artist. She wants to be, the way she sees the world is very contemporary. It's very new media. So she does things like collage and Xeroxing. She's growing up in the 80s, and early 90s is when she comes of age. So you can imagine the technology. There's no smartphones yet. There's no the internet is just coming in. One of her friends named Jackie is actually a computer scientist. And so she's very into the internet. And so there's kind of her, Giselle, her friend Jackie, and then her friend Ellen. And they form this interesting friendship. And then you kind of keep following them as they're aging and as they're getting older. And Giselle ends up becoming part of the New York art scene at a very specific time and place. And she does these really interesting performance pieces, but she's not even doing them in front of other people. She's really doing them just for herself. She feels very strongly about being an artist in this very, I'm going to use the word pure way, but I feel like that might be a little bit elitist to say. I'm not sure. She's not making art in a way that it's for someone else to purchase or for someone else to look at. She's making art purely for herself and for her own creative expression. And so this book is really interesting in a few ways. One of them is that the women are very much living for themselves. So they're not tying their lives to that of looking for a boyfriend or a husband. And they also are all Asian American and kind of navigating this life, this hybridized immigrant life where they feel American, but also tied to their other culture and all of the things the baggage maybe that comes along with that. So that's what it's about. And I am so far, enjoying it. So that is my reading for March. It's very nonfiction heavy. Again, this seems to be happening to me a lot. So I'm not exactly sure why that's happening, but I'm just going with it right now. I do hope to work in a few more fiction books in the months to come, but I also am really enjoying, reading fiction more slowly and just really being, immersed in it and not worrying too much about my pace or like multiple books or anything like that. Oh, I almost forgot to tell you about my fresh read for March. So my fresh read for March is going to be a book from the Women's Prize for Fiction long list. And that is going to be announced in just a few days. Actually, when you are watching this video, it's announced today, Tuesday, March 4th. So I'm going to pick something from that. I'm very excited to see the list. I'm very excited to pick something from that. So I will be reading that once I'm done this book. So The Bones of Grace will be the first part of March, and then the next part of March, I'll be reading my Women's Prize for Fiction long list choice. And I may even choose 2 from that list as well. We shall see what's on there and what appeals to me and what I can get my hands on. All of those things are dependent. So thank you so much for watching, and I will be back again soon with another video.